All right. You know what it is? You know who it is. We're back. Got another episode of the Fight Cast, episode 14. We had an exciting weekend. It was still exciting, even though it was sad. I had the worst weekend I've ever had picking in quite some time. And I think every fight that I picked, even the unofficial ones, were wrong. So we're going to come back stronger than ever here. We're going to come back better than ever. And I think this weekend was a good weekend overall. So kind of we'll drop into the UFC stuff first, and then we'll get into some of the boxing stuff because we have our thoughts. So we got Jake Paul and Ben Askren announced, so we'll talk about that because we were just about to get into that before I started, but I asked Jake to save it. So going back to last Wednesday, we had Neil Magny versus Michael Chiesa. I picked Michael Chiesa to win, and he did just that. He dominated Neil Magny, took him down. It was one of those boring fights that you would hate. It was literally he just dragged him down to the ground, held him on the ground, dominated him. Neil Magny had literally no answer for those, or no answer for anything that Chiesa threw at him. So it was just one of those things that from the start, and this is the way I thought, and I want to get into this with the Chandler Hooker fight. That was what I saw happening in one of these fights, was it was going to be like almost dominated in one way. And Chiesa dominated that way. Chandler dominated in the other way. He's got a strong future. I think he just moved to the welterweight division. So he is going to, he's going to definitely be a player. And I'm interested to see what happens because there's a nice welterweight fight this weekend, or in a couple weekends. The 12th, I think, is Usman versus Burns. So that's going to be another good fight. But I think Chiesa's making his way to the top, and he's making his way and his name known after like a not like a bad start to his career, but a weird start to his career. I'm excited to see what happens for him. Obviously, we had the big fights of the weekend, UFC 257. We had Conor versus Porier. We had Hooker versus Chandler. The other fights were good. Nothing to write home about. Amanda Ribas was someone I was looking forward to watching, and she got knocked out technically twice because the ref got too close, and like the fighter thought they stopped the fight, and then like they didn't, and then she came in and just hit her again and like knocked her out again. It was I don't know if you saw that fight.
I didn't see that one up.
So she got dropped. So she got knocked out, face planted onto the ground, and then flipped over, and the ref got like literally within like this, like almost touched the fighter, and she walked away, and Ribas grabbed her leg, and the ref was like, I didn't stop it. So she came up again and just like hit her again, and then they just like stopped the fight. It was stupid.
Oh my God.
I forgot the second guy's name, Makoev or Makaudu or something like that. I forgot his name. He had a really good fight. He showed out. And then obviously, I picked Hooker. I thought what was going to happen in this fight was Hooker was going to be able to keep his distance, and he was going to be able to outbox Chandler. I honestly didn't watch enough of Chandler. I'm going to say that right off the bat. I know Chandler is very good, and he was a champion in Bellator. I did not watch enough of him. That dude is athletic. He moves well. He's fast. He's strong. And, I didn't even get to see his wrestling, which is his best quality. But essentially what happened.
Punching his ass.
His punching is ass, but he throws fucking bombs. Like he just is throwing haymakers. And like,
yeah, well, guess it's another thing that I say every fucking week. It's easy to put dudes to sleep when you're throwing haymakers from way out here, and the dude, instead of moving his head, puts his hands down like this.
Mm-hmm.
So Chandler comes in and throws it straight to the body, which was a good punch. So he started out with a good punch. Although when he threw it a couple times before that, he threw it and then brought his arm way back here. Like he didn't, like there was no, he didn't retract the punch properly, which left enough time for a smarter guy to counter, which Hooker is not. And so like, he's supposed to be a good boxer.
I mean, not a good boxer, but he's, he trains at Adesanya. So like he's,
so he's supposed to be good with his hands.
He's a higher level striker. Yeah.
Okay. Trash. Because again, like the first couple times that he tagged him Chandler tagged Hooker to the body, he took about 14 seconds to get his guard back.
Yeah.
Like he had plenty of time to hit him with a counter. And he didn't. Instead, what he does, he brings this stupid high guard that all these MMA guys have, down to here like this to try to push away the punch to the body. And so what happens? Chandler is smart enough to see that, goes to the body with that shot, fucking hands come down here, that wide looping hook comes over here and knocks him out. That's what happens when you suck and you can't move your head.
It's
all right?
true. It's true.
Somebody get these guys better fucking boxing coaches, please. And then we wouldn't see dumb shit like this.
Yeah,
it's so frustrating to watch. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you bring your, like, again, okay, so think about it like this. You rely on your hands, your high guard as your first level of fucking protection to your head, right?
Yeah.
And you remove that protection to try to swat away a body shot, not with one hand, with both hands.
Yeah.
Who is training you guys? Yeah. I mean, what sort of instinct is that? This is how I block. So someone shoots it to the body, I'm going to try to block with both hands and leave my head wide open. It's mind-boggling. I don't get it. It was disgusting to watch. It was.
And like I said, I didn't go into this expecting. And again, I knew Chandler was good, but the way he was, his punches were ugly. But like, he throws bombs, and he literally was just, he's a strong, small.
He does turn his hips well. Yeah, and yeah, he's got that body. Yeah,
he's literally like he's V cut. He's got like shoulders, and he, like you said, he turns his hips well. I mean, that punch was it was just like an ugly punch. But if anybody who's throwing a dude like that's built like Chandler, who's got size and the speed that he has, if you get hit, like there's not much you're gonna be able to do. And he did exactly that. He hit Hooker. Hooker dropped, and that was it. And Hooker, underwhelming, like really, like he was, he should have kept.
He didn't look like he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah, I don't know.
He didn't look like he wanted to be. He was just taking steps backwards.
Yep.
Again, not even lateral movement. He was just backing up, and then he would take a step and then back up. Look, he didn't want anything to do with that guy.
And I think, honestly, I don't know what was going on, but like the whole point of it early on was to really, he was supposed to keep his distance and then block anything that was coming in from Chandler, because Chandler was going to shoot. He was going to shoot for the takedown. That was kind of the idea there. And Chandler walked him right into the perfect shot, which is his left hand. He walked him, he walked him down a little bit. He put some pressure on him on the right, so he moved to the left, hit him with the body, the jab or the cross to the body, or the jab to the body. I think he's a lefty, and then bombed with the left hand, caught him on the chin, and that was it. I don't know that Chandler. I like Chandler a lot, and I think he's exciting, and I think he's the next one in line to like go for the belt. I'm interested to see him in like in a different setting with someone. I thought Hooker would be a lot harder of a challenge. Obviously, he wasn't. I'm interested to see Chandler against a higher level striker, because I thought Hooker was going to be that answer, but obviously I don't think from what I saw, he wasn't. Yeah. But Chandler proved himself. He stepped in, he won. A lot of guys don't do that in their first UFC fight. They usually struggle, especially with that jump in caliber of athlete. But he proved himself, and like, I'm excited to see what he does. I think he's going to be one of the next guys in line, depending on what Porier wants to do. Which we'll get to.
I like what Porier said after the fight, though, about like regarding Chandler.
He was like, they can do whatever the hell they want, but I don't want to fight him. He's like, I'll go sell hot sauce.
Because he asked him, the dude asked him, does that fight interest you?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no, it doesn't interest me. He's like, I want to fight for belts. He's like, that doesn't interest me. He's like, this dude's got one fight. He's like, no, that don't interest me. Why would it?
Yeah.
Like you just beat the biggest name in MMA. I mean, you've been doing this for however many years. You took all those losses, came back, did what you did to get where you're at. And this guy comes in and I think Porier would be a great matchup against a guy like Chandler, who just goes straight forward, because Porier, I don't know if he's always been like this, but he was in the counter fight, became a great counter puncher. And it's easy because Mcgregor was like, we'll get to it, but Mcgregor was missing everything, so it was easy to counter.
Yeah.
But Chandler looks like that type of guy who just wants to go a million miles an hour forward.
Yeah.
And for a guy's plan to be like, oh, we're just gonna wait on it. That's not how you go against a guy like that. If you're not a counter puncher, like if you're not gonna hit him on the way in tag him, make him pay for missing. If you're just going to wait and wait and wait for something to happen, you're going to lose. And I think Porier, the way he fought McGregor, like that, Porier would, I think, beat a guy like Chandler.
Yeah.
But but it's like, why would Porier want that fight? He just beat the biggest name in MMA, and this guy's got one fucking fight against a guy who didn't really have a good plan, it seems.
Yeah. And I think that Chandler's got to prove himself once more. And I think the next play for him is Oliveira and Chandler, or Chandler and Gaethje. Because I think Chandler and Gaethje would be a really good fight. I also think Chandler and Oliveira would be a really good fight. And I think that would give us a little bit more insight into what Chandler actually is, because, Gaethje's a wrestler. And he's another bomb thrower, essentially. Like he swings. He's supposedly a striker. And Oliveira is a ground guy who can throw some punches, but like that would be, it would be that. It would just be two great matchups between guys who kind of like stylistically fit. He fits both of those matchups very well because he's, he's a top level wrestler and he's a striker to a certain degree. I think he's got to fight Gaethje or Oliveira before he gets a shot at Porier, which we're going to talk about in a second. Because I think there's a couple ways that Porier can go, but it seems there's only two ways he wants to go, which is Conor and Nate Diaz. So, yeah, I mean, Chandler proved himself. I'm excited to see what they do with him. I'm excited to see what's next with him. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen because, again, this kind of like pushed a lot of things in different directions with what happened. But I think he proved himself. He's here to stay, and I'm excited to see what happens. But yeah, and then, the Porier-McGregor fight. So Porier knocked out McGregor. One of the things I never thought I'd see in my life is Conor getting dropped like he did. Like, not only knocked down,
but he was like, oh.
knocked out. And he, from the beginning, and listen, Conor, last time he fought was against Cowboy. The last time he fought before that was Khabib. So he hasn't been in the ring for about 40 seconds of 2 years. He claimed it was the time away that didn't do him well. Whether I believe it or not,
it didn't. I'm sure it didn't do anything favors for him.
I think I've had some time to like think about it and digest it, and it was very much like, obviously you see that, and it's like, my favorite fighter, so it's kind of like, oh, weird, like you don't expect to see it, but not overreacting to the situation. I think Conor is swaying in a lot of weird ways because his personality. And one of the cool things I want to talk about with it is like, he once was bigger than life. And now he's kind of turned into like this, this quote unquote dad who is just another person. And I think that his biggest tool is his mouth. And almost, I look at it almost like a peacock where like he's spreading his wings and it's a lot scarier. It looks a lot scarier than it actually is. And when you talk that talk and you give yourself that almost like persona and like that visual of being like this bigger person, your punches are going to hit harder. Your movement's going to be a little bit scarier. Those things are going to matter. And like, you could see that as he came up he was very much a talker. He got in Aldo's head. That's how he won that fight. He got in the Porier's head. That's how
he won the fight with a perfect fucking counter punch.
Well, that too, but I'm saying like that fight was won.
No, no, I see what you're saying, but I think even if he could, I think they could have went to that fight, like that particular fight, without saying a fucking word, and I think he still would have beat him. Like, but again, that was one of those where the skill was just too much.
Yeah, and like he went into his fights after that with his second fight with Nate Diaz. And he talked in the initial fight with Nate Diaz, but like he's been someone who isn't afraid to take chances, which is why I like him so much as a fighter. And he's not afraid to lose. He's not afraid to go out there and put himself on the line. He jumped 2 weight classes to get to Nate Diaz and, lost and then came back and won. But his thing, and I don't want to discredit Porier because Porier is a great fighter and he's improved a ton. Whether I think Porier actually won that fight based off of skill is a different question, because also people are underestimating how much that leg kick actually damaged Conor. And I think he got kicked, 5 or 6 times in the beginning before he actually decided or like started feeling it. And I want to say this from experience because as I've done Muay Thai, getting kicked hurts. And like, you don't feel it after the first few. It's like the first 3 or 4, you're like, oh, whatever. And then like 5 or 6 and someone catches you the right way, you're like, all right, like that hurts. And then like 6 or 7 is like, all right, I can't walk. And like for him, the where he was getting hit is such a specific area. And from what I understand, is that it caused him dead foot, and meaning like he literally couldn't raise his foot.
Yeah.
So your lead leg is hurt, and one of Connor's main aspects of fighting is movement. But he, and again, he looked very sloppy coming in. He looked very stiff. He looked very like lazy in his stance. And like, even they broke down his stance. I saw a couple things where he had this new like boxer stance. Like he was like this as he was coming in, and like his feet were very flat, as opposed to like, you look at him against Aldo, you look at him against Alvarez, you look at him against Porier. The first time he was on his toes. He's bouncing back and forth. His hands were kind of low. His stance was a little bit wide. So it was a little bit easier to check those kicks. It was a little bit to get inside and better and kind of move. And he didn't have that. And essentially he changed his entire style of fighting. He wasn't moving. He tried to be more of a boxer. He didn't throw as many kicks, and he didn't talk. And like, again, Porier even said it. He was like, I didn't feel like I was fighting anybody. He felt like I was fighting just another guy. And like before, you didn't just fight another guy when you fought Connor. You literally fought all his fans. You fought his words. You fought his persona. You fought his media obligations. Like when you fight Connor, you get the money, but you pay for getting the money, because there's media, there's fans, there's attention, there's breaking down, there's critiquing, like all this stuff that comes with it. And I think what happened was Connor changed the way he spoke, and he didn't shit talk. He didn't get in Dustin's head. And again, it makes you seem like a normal person. And when you're fighting a normal person against someone who's got Porier, who's got like this, and again, like I told you, and you've told me, was like, Jake told me was Connor doesn't have it. And like, he's got too much money is essentially what he said. So you're going against a dude who you embarrassed the first time, who's got all of that sitting back here, whether he says it or not, trying to embarrass you, and you got millions of dollars sitting in the bank, and you're like, well, I love this stuff and I enjoy it, but like if I lose, he still made $20 million.
Yeah.
Like it's just like he didn't have his dog, and then he went against somebody who had the dog, and that's what happens,
Yeah.
And like you could see it, even from the talking in the press conference, and it's like you don't bring that stuff up about the press conference unless he loses, and he lost. And it's like, all right, well, what does that actually mean that he didn't talk shit? What does that mean that he actually didn't move his head well? And like, he didn't throw his punches right, which we're going to talk about now. But like, I think Porier had a good fight. People underestimate the leg kick, and they underestimate how much that actually took out of Connor. And Connor didn't help his case. But Porier earned that win. He knocked him out. He, again, he had some really good counter punches. He, and he won in the way that Porier is known for winning. He gets you against the fence, and then he just goes boom, 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 and he throws a 12-punch combo until he connects. He clips you with one, you stop moving as much. He clips you with another one, and then you get knocked out. But yeah, so I mean, breaking down that fight, the leg kick was the thing, and and again, that takedown early on, I said it as soon as I saw the takedown, I was like, fuck. I was like, that's not good, because Dustin isn't that type of fighter. And he opened up the threat to a takedown, which opened up the opportunity for the kick. Yeah. And it opened up the opportunity for a lot of stuff. And that one takedown, it didn't change. It didn't make Connor tired. Everyone was saying that he was tired. It changed from the mental aspect of he had to now introduce himself for something that Dustin's never really done, which is go for a takedown. But that's just my take on it. I think Connor's going to come back. I think he's going to be better because of this. And I think that he's going through a transition of growth right now. And I think that he was on this end of being like this just dick sometimes, of just being like, and I think you saw the climax of this against Khabib when he was basically a drunk, like talking nonsense and like being almost like cringeworthy, to now pendulum swinging all the way to the other extreme, which is being like a happy-go-lucky, and he was just grateful to be there that night. And you can't be grateful to be there in a fight. No. You can't walk into the ring and just be happy that you made it there. And I'm sure you know this more than I do, but like, if you're going into a fight, you have to be ready and willing to, die and kill somebody.
Here's the thing. Conor won't be back. If he is, he's gonna get beat again.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't. At this point, I'll almost guarantee that if he fights a bum in his next fight, he's gonna lose.
Wow.
And because when you're fighting, you have to want to hurt people.
Yeah.
And Conor doesn't want to hurt people anymore. You know why? Because he's got kids. And no matter what the fuck he says, here's the difference between like Conor and any other champion who's made money. Well, first of all, you have to compare him to boxers because no one in MMA is ever going to be or has been as rich as Conor is.
Yeah.
So you look at boxers, the way that it normally works is that they build themselves up, right? Like, so look at Canelo, right? Why does Canelo still beat everyone? Why is he still perfecting his game? Because he never had that leap where it's just like, oh my God, this is so easy. I have all the things I ever wanted now, and I didn't really have to do that much.
Yeah.
Conor did. So every boxer that's become a fucking multimillionaire who has hundreds of millions of dollars did it over like 20 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Conor did it in like 6.
Yeah, right. So Conor was like, okay, I got up to $1 million, now I'm 5 million, and then it's like, oh, I fought Mayweather, now I get $100 million. So overnight, he was like, I have no reason to be violent anymore. I have no reason to be angry. I have no reason to want to fucking eat people anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Lost it all. And guys like boxers who take that long to get to that level, like it chips away a little bit, but never enough to where they're like, okay, I don't need to do this anymore, right? Because there's always more to get. There's always the threat of, oh man, if that next fight doesn't come, like I got to get that big contract. Because if the next fight doesn't come, now my $1 million house and yacht and cars and shit, all this shit goes away. Conor got to that situation overnight where it's like, it doesn't matter if he loses the rest of his fights for the rest of his life. He got enough money to live for the rest of his life and start businesses. So it's gone. Mm-hmm. His desire to fucking hurt people is gone. You could see it in there with the laziness. And the thing that Conor is known for, the shit that we talked about, the reason why I picked Conor to win in one round is because of his accuracy, his natural ability to fucking throw a punch the right way and know how to hurt people.
Yeah.
It's gone. He was throwing shots with no purpose at all. He was just throwing shots to throw shots.
Yeah.
He was fucking falling forward with us. He was off balance. Like you said, he was flat footed. And fucking, the leg kick was great and all that other shit, but it didn't matter. It didn't matter because the shots he was throwing weren't fucking hitting their spot.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean,
again, had that been 5 years ago when he landed a couple of those, he probably would have knocked fucking Porier out because he was there to get hit, but Conor was not hitting him. Why? Because he didn't give a fuck if he landed those shots.
Dude, he landed a clean left to Porier and right a couple times. And when he knocked Porier out 6 years ago, he clipped him right in the back of the head. And that's what I was saying. Like that persona of like, he wasn't in his head. And like
Porier it's the form. The other night he was pushing all of his punches instead of throwing.
Like when he hit Porier,
he wasn't snapping.
Clean hook. Like it was a clean hook.
But he's pushing it. There was no snap on it. You know what I mean? That's why, like you could see that like the shots were not being thrown with any sort of purpose. He was just throwing his hands out there. Even the head movement. He was like when he was in the Porier was flurrying right before he knocked him out. He was just moving. He wasn't even moving with any purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like moving around the same exact pattern, which is why when he came back down, Porier caught him because he knew he just kept moving his head like this.
Yeah.
In a U. He wasn't looking at the shot, seeing it come and then move. He was just going like this. That's a guy who doesn't want to fucking be there anymore. And him saying like, oh, I love this shit. Oh, I got all the money in the world, but I love this. Like, I don't deny that. I'm sure he does love it. I'm sure he's deep down him, he loves it. But there's other elements in his life that are keeping that love from turning him into the monster that he needs to be. You need to be a fucking monster. And Conor is not a monster anymore. It seems like he's a really good dad and he's happy to be a dad and he's got money. He's got businesses. Good for him. So he's probably going to have a great, happy rest of his life, and he can look back on all his accomplishments because they're huge accomplishments. But he no longer wants to hurt people. That's fucking clear. He doesn't want to, and you gotta want to fucking take a guy's head off, man. That's it.
Yeah. And I think, I think the biggest thing right now is that going into this, Conor really, and it's just that he lost his dog, and that was it. He lost, and it's Jake's right. He lost his ability to want to hurt somebody, and that was it. There's not really much else to say, because I've never seen Conor in that position where even against Diaz, he got tagged, and like Diaz did that to him. Diaz got him in the corner, threw punch after punch after punch after punch, and Conor ate it, walked away, came back and hit him again and hit him again. He didn't get caught. Maybe Porier is a better puncher. Yeah. Maybe Porier is a better volume thrower. Yeah. Nate Diaz isn't really a power puncher, but the way he looked against Porier, the way he came out against Porier, the way he went out against Porier is just like, even, again, the way he got knocked out was like the way he tried to dodge that punch. He literally just like dipped his head forward into his face. Yeah. It was like, what are you doing?
Lazy as fuck. Dude. Lazy as fuck, man. Yeah. He was just, again, with no purpose, just moving just to move. No
and like
purpose.
I said, I think the leg had way more to do with the way he went out than him actually going out that way. Because from what I could tell, I think when he went down to like that initial blow that like sent him down on the ground, it looked like he stumbled. Like it looked like he wasn't comfortable when he was going down. And I honestly think the leg had a lot to do with it. And that was his fault because he didn't check those kicks.
Well, it certainly didn't. It didn't help with the fact that like he was like his weight was collapsing because he got clipped clean. And like there was no strength in his leg to keep him up. Even if his brain was sending fucking signals to his leg to keep him up, you're right. Like, yes, his leg was fucked up at that point. Yeah. So it was just collapse. I mean, he was gonna go down anyway because again, like the way he rolled into that shot, he was gonna go down anyway because
I've watched the knockout 3 or 4 times, and like the way he went down into that punch, he literally was like, "Here's my face, knock me out," and like he just folded his hips and put his head right down where Porier was swinging, which is right here.
Dude, even the worst boxer in the world will be able to time that because he moved the same pattern about 6 times.
Yeah.
So it's like you're here, then you're here, and then Porier, he missed on the first like 3 or 4 rolls, and then he caught him, and he's like, now I know he's gonna roll back this way. Bang! Caught him on the roll in the middle of the roll down because he knew he was gonna be there.
Yeah.
Even the fucking worst boxer could time that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, he did it to himself by being fucking. I mean, good. Listen, man, the guy. I actually just watched a video. It was from like a year ago. He was on Jimmy Fallon. He was on the Tonight Show, and him and Jimmy Fallon went to this Irish bar in New York City.
Actually, I watched that video too. Yeah.
Did you? Yeah. Conor McGregor's like, I think he's always going to be a great entertainer, and that's where his future lies. And listen, it's over for him. You know what I mean? That part, like being that guy and that myth and that fucking that boogeyman is over because he doesn't need that anymore. He let go of all that hate and all that anger that he had that made him good. Because why would you hold on to that shit when you got beautiful kids, you got all the money in the world, you got a wife, and you know what I mean? Why would you hold on to that?
Yeah.
Some people do. Some people are able to do that even after they get rich. They, again, like Canelo is one of those dudes who he spends all of his time by himself in training, and his wife and kids are at home. That's how he keeps himself hungry.
Yeah.
Conor doesn't seem like that type of dude, and it just seems like he's got all the shit that he wants. So look at, man, good for him. We can always look back on all the great shit that he's done. Yeah. It's not going anywhere. That shit is down and it's going down in history. It's there. But him being that guy now, that monster is over. You know what I mean? It ain't never coming back. This guy's going to be an entertainer for the rest of his life. And good. He's a funny dude. He's a charming dude. You know what I mean? So, and I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing on shit. Maybe he'll host a TV show. I don't know. I'm looking forward to that because I don't want to see this dude get beat up anymore because that's all that's going to happen.
I'm not going to give up on him yet. I know I understand what you're saying. And I had that initial reaction too, is that, and I talked about it with you, was like, I don't want to see that. Cause like, that's not, that alone, him getting knocked out was something I never even thought I'd see, and not see. He's shown
such a great chin before too, so it's like, wow.
Yeah, and like not even over exaggerating and being like, a crazy, but like it's just like I said, like he's got a chin. That was the first time he's ever been knocked down and knocked out ever, like in his UFC career. Like he's never, and I've only seen him once or twice get rocked. Like when he was against Khabib, like he got drilled, but the only reason he got caught there was because he was caught off guard,
Yeah.
and he didn't even get like knocked down. He was still stumbling, but he came right back up. And you don't get, for this, it just looked like he got drilled, and now he just like gave up, and that was
Yeah.
it. Like it looked like after that flurry, I think he knew his foot was done, and he just was just like, I don't know what to do. Just take me out.
Yeah.
And that's the
I'm
reason.
gonna go play with my kids.
Yeah.
That's what he was thinking.
The reason I don't give up on him yet is because this has happened before with Diaz. And I don't know how they're going to treat it. Poirier, won convincingly.
Yeah, but he's never looked like this before.
Yeah,
that's
I know.
The thing, like after, like it was different. Like Diaz, like he still showed fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even in the Khabib fight, even though he looked like he didn't want to be there, he still, like, the skill was still there. The accuracy.
And that's the thing is, like, I can't believe like the drop off that I saw from the fight against Khabib. Like Conor was not there. Whatever you want to say against Khabib, but the fight that he had in that, he was exhausted and he was still giving it to Khabib in some way, and he was still won the third round. He was still probably one of the only people to even win a round against Khabib. And even against Cowboy, he came out and dominated Cowboy, which, was neither here nor there.
40 seconds isn't enough to, like, I remember I said that to some guys at the gym after that fight last year. I was like, that's not really enough to go on. Like, is Conor back? Like, you don't know. 40 seconds. Like, it's not enough to tell. But this is different. This is more than just like, like even Conor said, styles make fights, and he had that leg hook that's something I got to adapt to. That's Conor lying to himself as a fighter. Like, the fighter is still in him, but it's buried beneath the father.
Yeah.
The family man.
Yeah.
And the fighter in him is still saying like, I'll come back, I'll adjust to it. And the father in him is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the time he's ready, like physically ready to fight again, the father is going to be too big. There ain't going to be nothing left of that fighter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can see it. You can't go from being one of the best, most accurate punchers in your profession to missing as many open shots as he did in that fight without there being something more. Like, he's known for being accurate, and he was whiffing on shots again because there was no purpose. And when you lose, when you're out there throwing shots just to throw shots, that's a telltale sign, man. You don't want to be there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I'm just hoping there's not like this gives me like a Ronda Rousey vibe, like a fall from greatness that is just like a cliff jump. Because this is what Ronda did. She had her run. She had her amazing run, and then she lost twice. Then this is setting up to be that type of thing for Conor, where she had the other things. She had WWE. She had her other businesses. She had the movies. She had the TV shows, and they were all pulling her. And then she lost to Holly Holm. Then she took a couple years off, and then she came back and she got mauled by Amanda Nunes. And really, that fight probably should have never been made because she got knocked out in like 30 seconds. Or if I remember correctly, I think it was like 30 seconds. I'm hoping that's not what happens, because I think Conor's been, Ronda was a different story, but Conor's been like this. He's brought the UFC to like where it is. If it wasn't for him, the UFC would not even be in the conversation that it is now. And it might, honestly, because I know they're going through financial trouble, might be out of business. But seeing what happens moving forward, I don't know. I want to see him.
For the sake of his kids,
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't fight anymore. Because it ain't in him. Like, again, this is like fans, of course, we're gonna say like, look, man.
Yeah, I'd love to see him come back.
Yeah. But coming from someone like I've been fucking fighting my whole life, it's not there. And he shouldn't ever step back in that fucking octagon ever. And he certainly shouldn't step in the ring ever again. He's talking about fucking, I will win a title in boxing. Bro, cut that shit the fuck out, man. Yeah. Go on, run your businesses, live a happy life, be a good day. Get back at like promotional shit. Promote some fight. He wants to be involved with boxing. You got Mayweather promotion or Mayweather, McGregor fucking sports entertainment. Go get some fighters under your belt. Get some boxers under your belt.
Yeah.
This dude should not be back fighting ever again. He's 32 years old. By the time he figures it out, you were talking about maybe he's 33, 34. You know what I mean? Go at the tail end of your prime. Give the shit up, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's interesting. I mean, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Poirier is going to fight. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't seem like he's interested in anybody besides Connor or Nate Diaz. So, and they got this.
Or if Khabib, if he comes back,
Nah, I mean, I don't think Khabib's not coming.
You don't think Khabib wants?
I think the only way Khabib came back was if Connor did something amazing against Poirier, and I think that shot's done. And I mean, unless Khabib comes back and faces one of these guys like Chandler, but I don't see him coming back because that's not going to sell. No one's buying that shit. Like there's a trio right now of that I think is going to, and this is going to be pushed by Poirier. It's up to him. Connor's got two options. He's got the Diaz trilogy and he's got the Poirier trilogy. And I think both of those are going to sell more than anything else. The question's going to now become is like, are they just going to give, because Dustin is the title shot now. So right now, Dustin is the uncrowned champion. Like he posted that on Instagram and it's true. Like he doesn't have the belt, but he is going to be in the title fight. The question is, who are they going to stick in there with him? And is he going to have much of an option? And if he doesn't, because he was like, I don't want to fight Chandler. It's like, okay, well then who do you want to fight? Because I doubt he wants to fight Oliveira. I mean, maybe he does. And I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive they fought. And I can't remember. I could look it up. But the only options there are, he's been talking Nate Diaz. And Nate Diaz is coming down to 155. So does Nate Diaz deserve a title shot right away? Probably not, but like maybe. And then the only other option he said in the press conference after was, I want to fight Connor again for the third fight, or I want to fight Diaz. And that was it. So and then Connor is going to have both of them as options and Diaz is going to have both of them as options. So it's like, are they going to keep this little triangle of these people for the belt? Or are they going to include these other people? And I think this fucked up the plans of the UFC. Obviously, I think that they were hoping Connor would pull through because the UFC is better and it's better when Connor's a champion. But Poirier won. It's up to him now, whether they make Poirier fight somebody else or they make him step into the ring or the octagon against Nate or Connor again. I don't know. That's not really up to anybody else besides those guys and Dustin.
One thing is for sure, I became fucking significantly less interested in who the fuck fight for the belt in that division.
Like Connor lost.
I don't give a fuck.
It's tough, and that's the thing.
Poirier isn't that like interesting of a fighter.
They're not, and that's the problem. Is like none of these guys are great champions. Like they're not exciting. Khabib's gone. Whatever happens with Connor, unless he pulls it through, which Jake doesn't think so. I'm not like so. I'm leaning towards I don't think he will be able to, but I'm not just going to pull the trigger on it yet. But Khabib's gone. Connor's essentially right now gone. It's like, none of these guys are exciting. None of these guys are like worth,
I mean, Chandler seems like he'd be exciting, but I mean, the guy's got one fucking he doesn't deserve a shot.
And not to mention this fight already, Connor and Poirier was the second highest pay-per-view of all time. So Connor's got like 5 of the top 6 ever pay-per-views. It's like, good luck replicating that. Cause I don't know who's going to step in unless someone brings that. And I don't know that there's ever going to be, and I think this is why the UFC is kind of like fucking backpedaling now and they're going to be in trouble is because they're going to have to replace that. They're not going to get those numbers because the only numbers they get right now are when Connor's there. So I think that and that could be the dangerous thing is they could be pushing Connor and then Connor's going to get, fucked up again. I don't know.
The best thing that ever happened to fucking UFC was Connor doing the crossover with Mayweather because now like a lot of boxing people are like, oh, let's see what the fuck this guy is doing.
Yeah.
I know him because he boxed Mayweather. Like there, you know how many millions of people that didn't even know who the fuck McGregor was in boxing? Millions of people were like, who's this guy that Mayweather's fighting?
Yeah.
And then he fights him and they're like, hey, let's see what's up with this guy.
Yeah.
How many of those millions of people are fucking buying pay-per-views that have no interest in fucking anything else that goes on in that sport now?
Well, that's the thing is like, and right now the casual fan is a Connor fan, most likely.
Right.
Would like to see him
talk. No one wants to see guys fucking wrestle around on the ground for fucking 3 minutes of a 5-minute round. No one wants to see that dumb shit.
Not only is he not fighting, he's not talking. And he's not talking. Yeah, it's even less interesting is the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, so going over that stuff, obviously very bad weekend, but we got some good fights coming up. I think this weekend, let me see. We got Overeem. All right, no, a couple weekends. So 2. We got Alistar Overeem versus Alexander Volkov. We'll talk about that more next week. Boxing. We got Caleb Plant this weekend, the Nashville boy. Who's he fighting?
Caleb Truax.
Caleb
Or
Truax.
Truau. I don't know how
Yeah.
you say it. Probably French.
Caleb Plant is I've been watching a decent amount of him. I haven't watched him fight in person, but he's got skill that gets overlooked because he's in the Canelo division, really. And he's like in that Canelo conversation. And dude's fast. I'm gonna let Jake break him down a little bit more, but he's got all the skill you could ask for.
Yeah, he's real nice. As I told someone though, someone made a comment on Instagram. This is a couple months ago, asking about a Plant Canelo fight, and dude was like, "Don't sleep on Caleb Plant. That dude is nice." And I was like, "Yeah, he is nice. He's just not Canelo nice."
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're at with anybody who's nice in boxing in that division. You could be nice. You could be nice with your hands, but you're not Canelo nice. But Caleb Plant, yeah, he's got all the tools, man. He speed, power, accuracy. He's got really, really great reaction time. He makes, for the most part, really great decisions in the ring. So it's good, ring IQ, ring generalship, great footwork. I haven't really seen him I've only seen him one fight where he really got touched up a little bit. Seems to have a pretty good chin. So he's got all the shit that you want. The only thing that I've never really seen him do is use his body more. He doesn't. The times where I've seen him engage on the inside with guys were with guys that don't really have an interest in engaging back on the inside. So he was kind of able to land whatever shots he wanted. So that's the only like real flaw I've seen is him like isn't seem to really like wrestle around, get his shoulders in there to dig his chest, dig his shoulders into the guy's chest, dig his head into the guy's chest. He likes to be on the outside, which is fine because he's got the tools to do that. But yeah, I mean, this guy he's fighting this weekend is, I mean, you hate to say the shit about a professional athlete, but this dude's a fucking bum, bro. Like, I haven't seen a lot of them, but the stuff I've seen of him is bad. Like he's the type of dude. Like I think it may have been his last fight. He's the type of dude that like when he starts getting hit, he don't know what to do. And that's not good. Going against a guy like Caleb Plant who hits guys where and whenever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go ahead. Like this is not even worth breaking down, in my opinion. Again, I could be like disrespecting this dude, Caleb Truax, like a lot, but I'm sorry, but I think the dude is trash. I think this dude, Caleb Plant, is gonna get him out of there. I don't know, 6-7 rounds probably. Maybe he might drag it on because Caleb Plant is the type of dude who likes to play to the crowd. But I think like Caleb Plant has what it takes to get this guy the fuck out of there whenever he wants. I truly believe that. But I think I'm gonna say 7 rounds. He's gonna knock him out. This guy's a bum. And then the plan after that, we're gonna talk about this in a couple weeks. But Canelo's got that fight against his mandatory February 27th, I believe. He's gonna walk through that guy. And then the plan is for Canelo to either fight Caleb Plant or Billy Joe Saunders on Cinco de Mayo. So let's hope, as fans, we get Caleb Plant. Let's hope that my prediction is right. That Caleb Plant gets his knockout, Canelo gets his win, and we get those two guys. Yeah. Even though I think Canelo's absolutely gonna fucking mop him up, and I think he'll do the same to Billy Joe Saunders. At least Caleb Plant is a talented guy, and he brings some excitement. You know what I mean? And he's not either one of these European guys like Caleb Smith who's going to keep his hands up and just let Canelo beat. At least we're going to see some excitement. Caleb Plant will move around and dance a little bit, and he'll land some shit on Canelo. He'll definitely land some shit on Canelo.
Yeah.
So let's hope for that. Caleb Plant gets his win. Canelo gets his win. We see those two guys on Cinco de Mayo.
I'm hoping for, and then some stuff after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I agree. I think Caleb Plant's gonna wash this guy. I've never heard of him, but I've seen Caleb Plant. Dude's fast. He's got fucking quick hands. He moves well. I'm hoping to set up that Canelo fight as well. I'm hoping to see it, and then Canelo's gonna walk through his guy, which we can talk about more when it comes. But yeah, so last thing on the list, we have the ever so legendary Jake Paul officially announced versus Ben Askren. For those of you who don't know Ben Askren, he was probably one of the best mixed martial artists of his time, not under the UFC. I forgot exactly where he fought under. I think Bellator and I forgot the other association he was with, but he was, I think he's like 22-2 in his MMA career. He was an all-American wrestler, legendary, like all-American wrestler, fighting Jake Paul, who somehow managed to get this, whatever is going on.
The legendary YouTuber.
Yeah, the legendary YouTuber, I guess. It's taking place April 17th. They're going to be fighting. I don't know where. I don't know if they know that yet. I'm sure they have some idea. I hope this is the moment where Jake Paul gets fucking his face rocked in and canceled and just done. Ben Askren, like I said, I don't. So Ben Askren literally was saying that he's just taking this for the money and that he's making a bunch of money and that he's just going to wipe the floor with this kid and that's it. You know, again, Ben Askren is known for the infamous GIF or GIF or whatever you want to call it, or meme of him getting knocked out by the flying knee of Jorge Masvidal. And that was kind of when his UFC career ended. But again, he's a great fighter. He has a background in fighting. He's been doing it for however many years. He's going to train boxing. And I hope, I hope he doesn't get embarrassed. I hope he doesn't get knocked out. I see him winning. We'll obviously talk about this more, but I think that the thing I wanted to mostly talk about is how cringy Jake Paul actually is. So Ariel Helwani is like one of the main interviewers of UFC, and you know he's a big boxing guy as well. He interviewed both Jake Paul and Ben Askren. The Askren interview was pretty good. I mean, it was just asking him about everything, how it came to be, what his idea going into it is, what his camp's going to look like and whatnot. And he was just giving his advice. He was just like, listen, he's like, I've been in the ring across some of the best strikers in fighting, they're, whether they are or not is a different story, but like he's been against professional fighters, dudes who have been doing this their whole life and training to do it. And he's been against some really good fighters like Robbie Lawler, Jorge Masvidal. I forgot the other guy, but they're good fighters. And he says he's never been, really rocked in his career. And the only time he ever got knocked out was against Masvidal with that flying knee. So he's like, listen, he's like, I'm going to actually train for boxing. He's like, I'm going to be fine. He's like, I'm going to get in there. I'm going to shut this kid up. And that's going to be the end of it. Now, Jake Paul, just, I hate it. Like I watched the interview with him and he's just like being a child, essentially. Like he unfollowed everybody on Instagram except for Triller and Ben Askren's wife. And was on ESPN saying his wife's thick. He's like, maybe after I beat Ben Askren, I might shoot my shot and like see what I can do with his wife and shit like that. It's like just absolute nonsense. Just like it's just cringy. And like I hope
he's trying to follow what Mayweather did earlier in Mayweather's career by being the villain.
Yeah.
Except Mayweather did things that rub people the wrong way, but didn't like cross a line. I mean, he crossed the line and did like outside of boxing, like when he was fucking slapping around his girlfriends and shit.
Yeah.
But in boxing, like he never did like dumb shit like that, right?
Yeah.
But he made a career off of being the villain.
Yeah.
Like wearing the sombrero and the Mexican colors on Cinco de Mayo against fucking Oscar De La Hoya, shit like that, right?
Yeah.
And this fucking idiot, because he's white and from the suburbs, like there's lines are blurred. He doesn't know. He's a spoiled kid from the suburbs. So he just thinks like, oh, my mommy said that I can do whatever I want and everything is right. And no one will ever tell me any different because my mommy will yell at them. And that's the way that Jake and Logan Paul both approach life. is that I'm a spoiled little white rich kid and I can do whatever I want. I doubt fucking Ben Askren is going to shut him up because I've never seen Ben Askren throw a fucking punch before. And if he's going to train for boxing for 2 years or 2 months, I mean.
Well, the thing is like he's been in some capacity training his striking and
trainer striking is not the same as training for boxing. That's the one thing. That's the one thing. At least like Jake Paul has been like even though he's been training bums. Listen, we're just talking about just boxing, right?
Yeah.
If you're a guy in the gym and you've been sparring just in boxing, and even if you're fighting bums, but you've been practicing boxing, throwing punches as a boxer for 2 years, and then you get a guy who's been throwing other types of punches from a different type of stance coming into boxing, and you're just going to practice boxing for 2 months, you are at a disadvantage.
So you're saying you think Jake's going to win?
Probably. Yeah. Because what like, first of all, Jake Paul is going to, he is a big guy. He's heavy-handed. He's going to throw these wild punches. Okay. So even for a skilled boxer, it's hard to fucking get away from those shots because they're coming from awkward angles.
Yeah.
And you're talking about Ben Askren. It's like, I'm going to practice boxing for fucking 2 months. Have you ever practiced fucking slipping or rolling punches ever in your life? Probably not. Yeah. And now all of a sudden you're gonna be able to get, what are you gonna come in, do this shit, and you're gonna get caught with a shot from a guy who's been practicing throwing those particular punches. Yeah. So he's at a disadvantage. I have no idea who's gonna win. I have no interest in it. I don't give a fuck. But I'm saying that Ben Askren coming in as all that other shit you've ever done in your life is not going to help you in boxing.
Yeah.
It's not. The only thing that is going to help him is experience fighting, being a fighter. That's the only fucking thing. But now this idiot has been in the ring twice, and he knows what it's like to be in the ring, even though they're not against real fighters. But he has, again, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, the confidence that it takes to be a fighter. Like, you need that, even if it's false bravado. Yeah, it helps you so much. This idiot has it. On top of, he's a fucking white kid from the suburbs, so his mommy patting him on the ass. He's already got that false bravado, and then winning fights against 2 losers. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's got even more fucking confidence. Yeah. So I'm just saying that Ben Askren is at a disadvantage, only having 2 months of boxing training. Like, it's not enough. So don't come in here and think, I'm going to wipe the floor with this guy. You don't know how to throw a fucking punch. All right. I mean, so what this is going to be is 2 guys that don't know what the fuck they're doing, and we got being 100% honest, Ben Askren has just as much of a shot as knocking out Jake Paul as the other way around, because much like I said about the Nate Robinson fight, 2 guys don't know what the fuck they're doing. Yeah. And any shot could land. But he's at a disadvantage. 2 months is not enough to I've been training this way my whole life. Now I'm going to train just for turning your hands over, the timing, getting the snap of the punch right, because again, I talk about all the time, guys in the MMA, they don't snap their punches for the most part. You know what I mean? They push their shots. Yeah. Now in 2 months, you're going to get used to snapping that shoulder, snapping the wrist, snapping the elbow. Yeah. I doubt it. So it's probably going to be a garbage fight with a garbage result. And I don't give a fuck. Again, I could just hope I hope they both knock each other out. I don't know.
I'm just gonna hope that Ben Askren can pull through. I'm not saying that I think he will.
I definitely hope he does. I hope he fucking knocks all of his teeth out. That'd be great.
Yeah. But I think part of me wants Ben Askren to end this, but part of me doesn't, because one, I want Jake Paul to get badly injured by an actual boxer.
Yeah.
I want him to step into the ring with someone that's just there to kill him. And I don't want Ben Askren to be the one who wins by decision and this and doesn't do anything where Jake Paul ever regrets this actual decision. I'd like to see Ben Askren lose for the simple fact that Jake Paul is going to, from here, because this is his what do you want to call it? A checkpoint in this whole thing.
Yeah, it's a transition from being a fucking,
because this is actually making Jake Paul a fighter. This is fighting an actual fighter. So from here, his confidence as what it is now is going to go from level 100 to level you know, with him exaggerated his own level of confidence, like 500. He's going to call out people. He's going to call out Connor. He's going to call out Dylan Dennis. He's going to call out, you know, hopefully an actual boxer, because this dude's still
It'd be
calling
awesome.
out
It'd be awesome.
non-boxers.
I want him to fight Archer Beterbiev.
I'm hoping that he'll find his way into the ring against a Beterbiev or a fucking
Edgar Berlanga. Oh my God. Wouldn't that be great?
I just want Jake Paul to regret ever making this decision and making it the way he's done it.
I want to see Edgar Berlanga fucking kill him.
He would literally.
I want to see him in the ring, like, and him just hit him and fucking immediately fucking Jake Paul's hemorrhaging and dies in the ring. Fucking great.
We'll see what happens.
Dude, Berlanga would kill him. Same thing with like Beterbiev. Like let him in there with one of those guys.
Yeah. No, and that's why I'm hoping that Ben Askren. Like, I want to see Ben Askren end it, but I don't think he's got one. He doesn't have the power that I want Jake Paul to get ended with. Like, I want Jake Paul to be like Leo Santa Cruz or Nate Robinson himself, like dropped on the ground, carried out of the arena on a stretcher, in the hospital, so he can make sure that he is done regretting this decision and making like a mockery of what he's trying to do. But we'll see. But yeah, there'll be more to talk about as we pay attention to this a little bit more and dive into it. But yeah, so again, Caleb Plant, we're picking him. Jake says 6th or 7th round KO. I'm going to go 5th round KO, or get him out of there in some way. Talked about the Connor fight. If you guys have an opinion on the Connor thing, definitely let us know. The Porier, what Porier's next move is, what Connor's next move is. And then talking about UFC, there's nothing this weekend, but there will be a fight next weekend. Yeah, so we got some cool, exciting stuff, especially for the UFC in the next few weeks. Definitely boxing as well. We got some good fights coming up. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.